Well, good evening slash whatever for everyone. This is Sidewinder for Community Starcraft 2. I'm going to be running through a few different things here for Zerg openers, and it's just to help you Zerg players out, kind of get a feel for what you should be doing in the first little bits of the game. What I mean by openers is this is how you're going to start the game off without really revealing any sort of tech pattern. So I'm going to be playing from first person here. Just kind of showing you guys a few different things. We're going to start off with just a typical 15 hatch first. First off, you're going to want to send your overlord out to do some scouting, so be aware of that. And when you're trying to make drones, you're going to want to hotkey your hatchery to something, and just spam the drone key, because you need to start your drones as soon as you get 50 minerals. Don't let it sit around until you build up, and you'll get as good a mining time off as possible. And set your rallies to somewhere on the mineral field so that your drones can find a nice place to mine from. You can see we need to make an overlord now that we're at 10, which is pretty normal. And then we're going to wait, and as soon as this overlord pops, you're going to have 3 larvae available. This is usually the time when, if you're worried about cheese, you'll send a scout out. Your overlord is actually going to be placed like right here outside the base, so you can get a scout in earlier. So just get in the habit of sending that overlord out. 3 larvae are ready, so we're going to send out 3 drones. And again, this is going to be a hatch first. Any build that you look up is going to reference the supply number in order to say what kind of supply you need to be, or what you need to be doing at what supply number. Hatch firsts are usually 15, so we're going to make drones up to 15, and we will drop our hatchery down. Now again, you can see I am playing this in real time, and I am using my keyboard to give all my commands, and it's going to help in your build orders a lot to use your hotkeys in order to get all this stuff done a lot quicker. And you'll also notice I pulled this drone a little early before I got that 300 minerals to drop that, and then right after that you're going to drop your spawning pool. Really anywhere is fine for the time being. So we're going to pause.
Game paused.
You can see if you turn on your little timer, you're going to know the timings of everything that you're trying to do. And your hatch is going to go down at about 2:30, as we saw right there. And that's about ideal opening that you're going to get on hatch first. You're going to have your hatchery ready about 2:30, and every second counts. So if you're wasting time not making drones, or missing your overlord, or screwing around or whatever, that's going to hurt you quite a bit from here and into the remainder of the game. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're using your hotkeys and you're just spamming that Q button, I play on grid, so you can play on grid if you want to or whatever. Just spam the button to build drones. So you're building drones as soon as you get 50 resources, and then know exactly what you want to do after that. This is basically the opener for hatch first. You've seen it. It's just hatch on 15, usually a spawning pool on 14, because you want to be safe from any early pressure. And I did not scout in this one, but you can scout if you'd like to. I would normally scout against Terran in particular, just to be wary of a bunker rush, but you can actually get away with scouting now. You are at 13 supply at about 2:30. If you get up to their base, you're probably going to see their barracks just finishing, and you'll be able to see if they have a bunch of Marines coming, or if they're pulling SCVs to do something weird like a bunker rush. But if you're watching this video, you're probably not going to see anything weird like that for the time being. So there you have it, hatch first. You're going to drop your hatch on 15, spawning pool on 14, and never stop making drones. And from here on out, you're just going to play based upon what your instincts are, or what your reaction to your opponent is. So there is a hatch first opening, and we will move on to take a look at a different Zerg opening. Okay, we're back in. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the next Zerg opening, and we're going to be trying out. This is going to be the 13 pool, 14 hatch, and I'll explain the differences between that and hatch first. Obviously, the reason you want to get a fast hatchery as Zerg is to keep up with your opponent. Zerg's units are rather disposable at these lower tiers, so you will want to expand early. Don't sit around on one base unless you have a build that you want to go for in mind that relies on staying on one base. But for the most part, you can get away with staying on 2 bases, or rather getting that hatch first, or not hatch first, but getting an early hatchery, I'm sorry, in order to keep up with your opponent. So this one's going to be a 13 pool, 14 hatch, and again, like I said earlier in the video, you're just going to be spamming the key to build drones, or spamming the key to build overlords when the time comes when you reach that 100 minerals. Again, I didn't do it now, but you do want to send your overlord out to sit in a good spot to scout later on. And as soon as this overlord pops, we're going to have 3 larvae ready to go. And you're just going to, 1, select your larva and just spam the drone key to get them out as soon as possible. Now that we're at 13 supplies, when we're going to start thinking about dropping our spawning pool. I'll pause it here. The reason you'd want to run this is if you are worried about earlier pressure, because your spawning pool takes a while to build, and you don't want to get too gritty as Zerg. The reason hatch first is really popular right now is because people haven't really figured out why hatch first, or how to punish hatch first. So Zergs can typically get away with dropping that hatchery at their natural and then putting up like 3 or 4 spine crawlers or more or less, depending on what they see from their opponent. This is going to be one, and if you expect it to be a lot more early pressure, or if you just want to play safer. I know in lower leagues they're not courageous enough or bold enough a lot of the times to drop that hatchery first. They will often take their pool and get Zerglings on the field before they feel comfortable with expanding. We'll show you that specific build in the next one. This is kind of a mix between being either safe or being aggressive with your hatcheries. So we'll progress on. As soon as you get 200 minerals when you're on 13 is when you're going to drop your spawning pool. Try to time it so you pull your drone and he's in position to drop the pool right then. So he's not wasting any time. Now we need to drop our hatch on 14, which means we need to make 2 more drones. So keep spamming that drone key. Now we're at 14. Now you're going to wait until you're at about 200 or so. Pull a drone and drop a hatchery right there. Now again, I know I do mention scouting. You can scout if you like. You can also scout after your hatchery if you'd like. On the last one, we put our hatchery down at about 230. So this is actually pretty close, but it's you can see it'll be about 10 seconds behind by the time it finally gets down and started. That's because we started our spawning pool, obviously, and we'll pause this right here. So where you can go from here on out is you'll have a fast spawning pool, so you can grab your queen quickly, or you can put up some spine crawlers if you're worried about pressure, or you can put out some Zerglings to control like the watchtowers here. Or you can also put out a couple of Zerglings to go in there and kind of poke at the ramp of your opponent to see what they're doing. So, yeah, that's the 13 pool, 14 hatch. It's been around forever. That's been around Brood War. A lot of Zerg players favor this one if they're worried about pressure, particularly in lower leagues, but that's another Zerg opening. Not a whole lot of important stuff here, but sometimes it does help out to see what players are typically doing in higher leagues as Zerg, if you are a lower league Zerg player, to get your game on track. So now that we've shown you that, we're going to show you one more standard Zerg opener. That is going to be the Speedling expand, which was kind of popularized by a player named Sheth, who is a pro player. I will jump right into that, and we will do our best in order to try to demonstrate how that's supposed to work and explain the concepts behind it. So we'll go ahead and we will jump on to the next part of the video. Okay everyone, welcome back to the Zerg Standard Openers video. We're going to be looking at our third and final build here. This is going to be Zerg's Speedling Expand. It's going to be popularized by a player named Sheth. He's a pro player that plays Zerg, obviously, from North America. And he popularized this expand basically to keep yourself really super safe against early pressure. This is a very safe expansion build, and it gets your Zergling speed, which is basically an essential upgrade, very early. So this is going to be a little bit different than the ones we looked at before. It's not going to be hatch first or anything weird like that. This is going to be a gas and a spawning pool really quickly. You see I'm slacking a little bit on my drone production here, so my fault. It's a little bit hard to edumacate and play at the same time. So again, once we get to that 100 minerals, we're going to go ahead and get our Overlord started. I did not hotkey my hatchery, so that's bad technique. You're going to hotkey your hatchery really quickly, and your minerals are going to build up again. Same thing as before. As soon as this Overlord pops, you're going to start 3 drones as soon as possible, and I'm just going to spam the key as hard as I can. And on this one's going to be a little bit different. I did not send my Overlord out, so that's my fault. So this is going to be a little bit different. You're actually going to wait until 14 to build anything. The first thing you're actually going to build is gas. So we'll go ahead and take our gas now that we have that 14th drone. We're back down to 13. Then you're going to get back up to 14 and take your spawning pool. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're at 14. As soon as you get about 200 minerals, you're going to pull your drone, put them behind the mineral line, and drop your spawning pool as soon as possible. Okay, so stopping right here. Essentially what this is going to be for is to stop any early pressure at your base, wherever. Speed on your Zerglings is essential. You almost always need to research it because you cannot afford to live without it. It doesn't seem like a big deal, especially if you're in lower leagues, because you're going to say, "What? Well, my units are faster." What does that matter? It matters because Zerglings, if they're hitting like, let's say that this drone here is being hit by Zerglings like 1 or 2 here. If the Zerglings can get around this drone a lot faster, you're hitting them with like 4 or 5 Zerglings instead of just 1 or 2. It's a really big deal if you're fighting units for Protoss like the Zealot and the Stalker because they're pretty slow. And if you have speed Zerglings on creep, they're going to surround them and they're going to take them out with really minimal losses. So this is kind of a build that you would use on smaller maps such as this, maps that you might be worried about getting pressured on, and maps that you really need to control well with your speedlings. We'll go ahead and jump back into this. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button and actually ended the recording. So we'll go ahead and jump back into this. What's going to happen here is you need to make sure you do pull your drones in time to get them on gas right away. Keep making drones out of this. On 15, you're going to make an Overlord, just to be sure that you have enough supply to get everything else out that you need. And one weird thing about this build is you're going to pull these drones off gas as soon as you get 100, and you're going to start your speed on your spawning pool as soon as you can. So here's 15. We're going to grab that Overlord, and you're also going to make a queen, or at least start a queen and everything before you expand. So, go ahead and keep jumping on those drones. We're up to 16 now. Our next 150 should be used on our queen as soon as this pops. So we'll go ahead and start that. Okay, queen's in production. We have 100 gas, so we're going to start speed and pull drones off of your gas. You don't really need drones right here. And then what you're going to want to do after this is start your expansion as soon as you have the minerals for it. So we're going to pull a drone. We're going to set them right down here to start this up.
We require more minerals.
Now if we look at the timer, we're at 341 before we're finally taking our hatchery, but the difference is that we have a lot of security with all of the Zerglings that are going to be on the map in a little while. And with those early Zerglings, you want to feel free to take these watchtowers to see if anything's going to be coming. Like I said in all the other parts of this video, you can scout with a drone if you want to. It is pretty normal to scout, and you will want to know what's coming for you. So at any point, whenever you're comfortable, pull a drone to scout, see what's going on in the enemy base, so you know if you're about to get killed by a whole bunch of unexpected units, excuse me. So, continuing on here, your next few units out of here are going to be 2 pairs of Zerglings, and then you're going to continue to drone on, just like normal. Your queen should be spawning here any second, and as soon as she comes out, you will want to select her and barf on your hatchery to get that extra larva, and continue to drone up here. So after this point is going to be purely based on what you see around the map. Now, I didn't have my rally set, of course, it's my fault. Sometimes, well, we'll go ahead and just keep going here. What you're going to do here is you're going to take control of these watchtowers. You're obviously going to be macroing behind this, and at this point you're going to be bringing in enough resources in order to keep your drones going. So pretend like I'm doing that. I'm not going to, just to demonstrate a couple of things. You can set 1 Zergling at each watchtower, and then your next 2 Zerglings, and this is for pretty much any later stage of any opener, you're going to want to poke around their natural, see if you can see any units coming, and if you don't see anything at their natural, take one of your Zerglings up here and just kind of poke in. Like you can see, okay, he has 3 Zealots and a Stalker. I got all that for nothing just by sending my Zergling out. And you can do this for any race, and you know what kind of pressure to expect. You can expect some pressure here pretty soon. So in response, I guess, oh yeah, I'll make some Zerglings because I'm a little scared. In the meantime, your hatchery's up, so there's a lot to pay attention to, but you get the point. You get the point that essentially these builds are going to open up different ways on different maps, going in order from most risky to least risky. Speedling expand is by far the least risky. The most risky out of them all is hatch first, the middle ground being that 13 pool, 14 hatch we took a look at earlier. So weigh those in accordance to what map you're playing on. If you expect to be pressured a lot by your opponent, and you can see why each build has its benefits, or rather each opener has its benefits versus downfalls. So there's a few Zerg openers for you. I hope that you guys learned something from this. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and post them down below. But until next time, I will be signing out. See you guys later.